So, am I audible? All good?
एक मिनट जिनल जिनल वेट
Yes.
Sure, sure, sure. Yep.
चलो सर स्टार्ट
Yes. Okay. Good morning, all of you. Myself, Vinod Chavre, working as an assistant professor in Jijamata College of Pharmacy, Nandurbar. Warm greeting to everyone present over here from the J.E.S College of Pharmacy, Nandurbar. On behalf of J.E.S College of Pharmacy, I proudly welcome you all for this one-day international webinar on overview of pharmacovigilance. A woman with great vision and mission, an icon for hard work, she is our today's speaker. Mrs. Jinal Darji Wagela, ma'am, she is working as a senior pharmacovigilance specialist in Australia. Also, I warmly and respectfully welcome to our principal, Mr. I.T. Ansari, sir, who is the backbone of our this event. I welcome you, sir. I extend my welcome to our faculties, teaching, non-teaching, student participants who have gathered here to add radiance to occasion. Once again, I welcome to everybody. I would like to invite to our principal, sir, for welcoming our today's guest, today's speaker.
Okay. First of all, I
Yes,
would
sir.
like to say thank you to Jinal Darji for accepting our invitation within a very short period of time. On the behalf of our College of Pharmacy, on the behalf of our management, on the behalf of our staff member, I would like to welcome Jinal ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. Yes, sorry, sir.
Yes. Okay, then now I'm. Thank you so much, sir, for. Then I would like to invite Mrs. Patil, ma'am, for introduce our college. Brief introduction about our college. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. It is my great honor to give a brief introduction of our college, that is Jijamata.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. Mute. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Madam, mute.
Mute
हो गया.
everyone. Okay, just.
Thank you, sir. It is great honor to give a brief introduction of our college, that is Jijamata Education Society's J.E.S College of Pharmacy, Nandurbar. J.E.S College of Pharmacy is a part of Jijamata Education Society, which is proud in 5 acres amidst the picturesque Satpura Hills, Taloda Road, Nandurbar, embellished with the modern architectures and a vast open areas. Vision of college: Jijamata Education Society has been credited to be a pioneer in pharmacy education by starting diploma course in pharmacy in 1991, whereas bachelor course started in 2012 at Nandurbar, which is a nucleus to the thickly populated and backward tribal in committed to providing excellence in pharmaceutical education and the development of pharmacy leaders as a service to the community in the improvement of the quality of healthcare services. Mission of the college: the mission of the college is to propose healthcare to meet the diverse pharmaceutical care needs of the citizens of illness and serve the profession of pharmacy through a balanced program of education, research, service, and patient care. The pharmacy college embraces the educational philosophy of board university, which is dedicated to communication, expansion, and integration of knowledge through excellence in the teaching programs, through the scholarly, relative, and research activity of its faculty, staff, students, and through professional community services. Thank you, sir. Everybody, thank you. I hand over the proceed to program to Taurus, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, now I would like to invite Valvi ma'am, to introduce our today's speaker. Yes, ma'am. Just wait.
Sir, unmute.
Yes.
Unmute would be ma'am.
Hi, Siroj. We can hear you, but it's very light. I guess you need to increase a bit of volume at your end, maybe? We can hear you, but it's a very slow voice. Still the same. Still the same.
It is my privilege to introduce today's esteemed speaker, Ms. Jinal Waghela ma'am. She is currently working as a senior pharmacovigilance specialist in Merck Sharp and Dohme, Australia. Coming to her education, she has completed B Pharmacy from Indira College of Pharmacy, Pune, and M Pharmacy in Pharmaceutics from R.C. Patel Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research. Coming to her experiences, she has worked as a pharmacovigilance scientist in Tata Consultancy Services. She has also worked as a drug safety associate in AbbVie. She has a 4 year of experience as a senior drug safety associate in Pfizer. She has also published various research and review papers. Without much delay, I would like to invite Jinal ma'am to take over this session. Ma'am, please.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you so much. Am I audible? All good?
All good, madam.
Okay. Thanks. Firstly, a big thank you for organizing the session to the J.E.S. College of Pharmacy. A special thanks to the principal. He's been a very good friend of mine, and it's a honor to be on the other side of the board. I was always on the other side as a student, admiring the people who used to come from industry and like to hear more from them. So it's a privilege to be on the other side and have that prospect of giving a sort of my experience from industry to the new upcoming. I'm sure everyone is going to flying with blue colors, so it's a really privilege. So a big thank you to Chore sir, Ansari sir, and ma'am as well for that warm and very welcoming introduction. So not much of delay, we'll have a start. I'm sure it's a great morning there. It's maybe lunchtime soon, so we will wrap up before the lunchtime, and it's the evening time here in Australia, 4 p.m. So a nice coffee time for me as well. So let's give a bit of start. So what topic I'm presenting is just my own experience which I have worked on. So it's an overview of pharmacovigilance. Is the slide all right? Everyone can see my slide?
Yes, ma'am. It
Yeah.
is
Okay.
visible.
Yes,
All
yes.
right. Yes. So
Yes.
let's give a start. Firstly, I want to just thank all the speakers and all the attendees who have joined as well, because I heard it was an overwhelming response. It was more than 350 participants. So thanks everyone for your time, and let's do a great start of the day. So myself, my introduction has already been given. So yeah, I'm now currently working at MSD as a pharmacovigilance associate in Australia, which is quietly different from my work experience from India, so which I will share in my upcoming slides. So what are we going to go through today is a little bit of small history. How was PV evaluated? A little bit of basics of that. Again, it is just a bit of what happens in an actual practical way in the industry. What's the need and importance of pharmacovigilance? What's the goal? And what are the different health authorities inside the all different countries? The overview of health authorities in different countries, and what is actual industry application of PV. And we'll have a small surprise quiz and a question session as well. If there are any doubts or any sort of questions, a session at the end as well for that. So let's go with a bit of history. I'm sure that everyone in pharmacy have heard of thalidomide in our B farms, in our M farms. So this is actually the basis from where PV evaluated long years back. So in 1957, there was a drug called thalidomide, which was marketed in Germany, and it was used for a number of cancer conditions. Example, multiple myeloma. It was also used for different skin conditions like leprosy. And then it was also found to be safe in pregnant women to use for the very, very commonly known symptoms, which is morning sickness. However, initially it was very safe, but there were some concerns regarding that use in 1961 when there were a lot of birth defects happening. And I guess the total number of embryo which were affected were around 10,000, and around 40% of embryo and the kids who born were dead, and all the survived one were along, they had a bit of malformation of limbs, and it's also called as teratogenic deformation. So this was a major side effect of this product, which was a bit of big concern that time in 1961, and due to this the drug was then withdrawn from the European market that year. And this whole scenario or this whole specific situation actually lead to a development of a stringent, a strong, and a greater drug regulation and a monitoring in the PV world or in the pharma world, which was not there before. So due to this, there were a lot of countries which came together, which had a talk and thought that we should introduce tougher rules for testing, licensing of drugs, and to get that greater regulation as well. We'll go to the next slide. So what is actually pharmacovigilance? So this is just a bit of comedy about that. So the doctor is telling that I told you if you're going to take a plant-based vaccine, you will have side effects. So that person has a hand which is like a carrot hand. So it's just a comic thing which is there. So what is an actual PV? So PV, which is also known as drug safety, it all revolves around the safety of the product. So it starts from collection of information, detection, assessment, monitoring, and prevention of adverse events or everything which is abnormal to any drug related problems with pharmaceutical products. So the pharmaceutical products can be either a medicine, or it can be a medical device, or it can be biologics. Nowadays we know a lot of products are coming biologics like monoclonal antibodies and everything of a non-synthetic sort of product. So anything which is not supposed to happen after taking that product is used to called as a pharmacovigilance. Apart from that, not only that we're just tracking adverse events, but we are also tracking anything which is a special situation. For example, lack of efficacy, medication errors, which can be overdose, abuse, misuse of product, and then pregnant use of products in pregnant women's use of product while breastfeeding, then occupational exposure as well. So we are also tracking that as well. Apart from this, we are also going to track an unexpected therapeutic benefit. So sometimes it's not only that we are only seeing adverse event, sometimes we can also see there's a benefit from some product which is not expected. So we also going to track that. So basically PV evolves around lot of data collection, everything sourcing data. So that's the main purpose. So what are the commonly used terms in drug safety? There are numerous terms, but these are only very few. So adverse drug reaction, adverse event, benefits, causal relationship, effectiveness, efficacy, product quality complaint, many more. Is there anyone who wants to quote something more? Please feel free. Risk, benefit, tolerance, so many more. So, where do the reports come from? When we talk about data, we're talking about collection of data. So, what we are looking at is there is someone who is providing these reports. So, that can be either from clinical trials or that can be either from post marketing. So, from clinical trials, who can present or who can provide the reports? Anyone wants to guess? I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. I was like, no,
Yes, yes.
no problem. So, anyone wants to guess what the reports or who can provide reports from clinical trials? Any wild guesses? Come on, चाय
Repeat
नाश्ता
the.
तो चाय नाश्ता तो आज किया ही होगा. चांगलं मस्त चहा आणि पोहे खाल्ले असेल. Okay, so clinical trial reports can be from investigators, physicians, the one who is conducting the trials. Second can be sponsors or pharmaceutical companies or universities. Uh, I'm hearing a lot of background sound. Can we get muted? Sure. Thank you so much. So we can get few reports from health authorities as well. And what are the chances of getting reports from post marketing? So that can be consumer. Consumer is very important source of reports for post marketing reports. So when we talk about post marketing is after the product is launched in the market. It's been used on regular basis and it's off the trial. It's in the market circulating and people are consuming it. Second can be physician again. The third can be healthcare professionals, sponsors. So sponsors are the ones who are sponsoring the product or marketing the product or sponsoring the clinical trials, and health authorities. So this slide is basically what happens into PV, the whole gist of it. So I'm going to try and explain every sort of perspective from that. So as we said, what happens is collection, collation of data, analysis, and then communication. So collection part is nothing but collecting the reports. So that basically nowadays, because of a lot of electronic format, now all the reports are electronic. Before they were all letters, post, manual reports, paper reports, but now it's mostly paperless. So that can be emails, phone calls, forms, messages, social media, everything. So these are all, so spontaneous reports, they all come from all other sources. As spontaneous as in company is not doing anything as such differently to get those reports. They are just coming spontaneously to the company. So that can be from consumer, healthcare professionals, nurses, pharmacists who are dispensing the medicine, consumer, patients, anyone who is a healthcare professional. And then here in abroad we also have a term called as carers. So when there's an oldie or there is someone who is retired and stays alone, there is a carer provided, so that carer can also report. So those are all little examples from where spontaneous reports can come from. Literature reports, we know we do a lot of literature searches. I'm sure half of the team joined here is either PhD or planning to go for PhD. So that's where all the literature reports come from. So there are a lot of literature happening. There are someone who are publishing that this product has this adverse event. So that can also come from literature products. Clinical trial data is all the data we get from clinical trials. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. not preclinical, because here we are only talking about humans. We are not talking about preclinical trials, so nothing to do with animals. So that can be there. Regulatory reports. Regulatory reports is regulatory agency on their part also has an obligations to collect reports from patients. So what happens is sometimes consumer directly bypasses the sponsor or bypasses the company, and they directly report to regulatory channels. So they also provide reports. And licensed partners. So when we talk about a pharmaceutical company doing PV or a pharmaceutical company promoting a product, there are a lot of contracts going here and there. So there is a collaboration of licensing partners that can be either for a marketing of a product or for promotion of a product or for just running a trial of a product. So that all happens under licensing partners. So it just depends on how the contract is set up, but they also have obligations of providing reports. So this is all a collection point of view. So this is just a few examples. Apart from this, there can also be social media. Nowadays, there are a lot of group chats, there are a lot of LinkedIn posts, and there are company run websites where people post their comment that I used a product and it's not good, or they had some adverse event. So they are also collected from that. Apart from that, there are some radio channels, there are some media coverage. Nowadays, there are a lot of health related programs coming on channels, which is talk to your healthcare professional, talk to the doctor, and they discuss about some products. So that can be from there as well. So all this data is being collected at one point. What happens after that is there's a collation of everything. So after collection, there is someone who is feeding all this data into the system. So what happens is in the system there is widely used software, or we can also say database, which is used by pharma companies. So basically, well used, or I can say topmost to use softwares by major pharma companies or top 10 pharma companies is number one is Argus, and number two is ARISG. So there are few more, but these are two are widely used, and they are used by the topmost or top notch companies. So this all collation happens in that database. So there is someone who is taking this report and feeding it in the system. And they are adding everything: reporter details, consumer details, product details, adverse event, and everything, and they are adding it into the database. So there's a place where every report is being going there. So now basically this trend of reporting is now also getting automated. Some of the companies are also getting systems to get this step automated. So what happens is there's a system who is picking up the reports from the email directly and putting it into the system. So this step is also now getting a little bit of automation. So this is what happens at collaboration point of view. So now what happens to all these data when it is there in the system? After this, there is a team or a medical reviewer team who is reviewing all these reports, and there's a signal detection from there. That's one of the step which happens. So what happens? What signal detection is nothing but it's the data mining, or it's an identification of safety signals from this wide variety of data. So we have a lot of data, but what are we going to do from that? We are reviewing that, and we are trying to find if there are any unusual safety signals, or are there any hypothesis, or are there any potential risk of using that specific product. So these data can be of different channels. There can be one data which is reviewed only for spontaneous reports. There's another data which is only for literature reports. So in short, we are reviewing. There are a lot of data analysts involved in this. There are a lot of softwares. There's a lot of IT as well, I would say. PV is a mixture of pharma, bio, and IT. So there's a lot of IT use of IT as well in this, because we need certain softwares, we need certain formulas to get these reports done, and we're trying to review and generate a signal from that. So this is all one style of analysis. After analysis, what are we doing? We know that there's a safety generation, we have found, we have analyzed the data. What's next? So next is communication, which is a key of PV. So after this, there are different channels of communication. If in the screen you can see, So one is submissions. So submissions can be to health authority, different country, different health authority, different requirements. Different health authorities have their own requirements of getting the reports. They can be 15 days, 10 days, whatever their compliance review is. Calendar days, business day, it all depends on what sort of guidelines that authority or that country has. So that submission we're talking about is the health authority submissions. The second is amending describing information, which is nothing but after the safety generation, is there any change or is there any need for changes in dosing? Is there any change in patient leaflets? So basically, when you take a new medicine, you open the box, there's a small chit in there saying contraindications. There's a small chit saying indications. That's all. How do we know that this product is going to give you nausea? This product is going to give you stomach pain. This is very normal. Like nowadays, COVID vaccine is full fledged. Everyone knows COVID vaccine lene ke baad, what are we going to have is a little pain in our arms, which is normal, which is not abnormal. A little fever, which is normal. So this is what you get after you do all this data analysis. And you get the small leaflet where there are certain things incorporated. That is one part where PV comes in. The next one is reviewing marketing status. So each company, each brand, and each branding, they want to market that product, or they want to market their products to an extent that patient feel it is the safest product in the world. If I take crocin from this company, mujhe kuch nahi hoga. I am going to take only crocin. It doesn't matter if paracetamol is available in other brands. So this is what they also do. So they check the marketing status of that product as well after all this data analysis. The next one is licensing partners, which we talked about. So they have sort of collaboration. They might need that, we need quarterly line listing of reports, or we need this data from you on quarterly basis, annually basis. So that can be sort of exchange of data which happens. The next is world authority reports, which we talked about already. And a small part I'm going to touch, it's a really interesting part, which is inquiry responses. So in this whole channel, or in this whole setup, we also get few inquiries which they're not talking about adverse event, but they're just talking about, I want to take this product, can I take? I'm this year old, I need more information on this XXX product. So these are just inquiries. They are not adverse event related information, but these are also captured in the system. And there's a specific team which is known as medical information team or medical information department, which take care of all these inquiries. So what they do is they go back and forth and clear out their doubts, their inquiries. So this is also like a small sort of avenue or a career progression where a farmer can also go in. So that is also there. And what else I can think of is yeah, I guess the next slide will explain it more. So this is again just the same thing, that what all involves in the pharmacovigilance system. We talked about is safety signal management, aggregate reports management. So aggregate report, there are multiple sort of reporting style. Aggregate is what we're talking about is collaboration or lot of reports in one. So we're not talking about patient one, we are talking about thousands of patients and reporting style in a one report. So basically, in a layman language, you can say aggregate report is reporting on a large scale in one report. So that can be PSUR, TSUR, which we know, SUSAs, line listing, which all happens in every country, but in a different style and a different reporting manner. Then there's only a part of it's only not that we only target adverse event, we also target product quality complaints, which is also really important. When we talk about any product, it's not only capturing adverse event, but we also want to know if there is any issue with the product itself. Is product smelling bad? टेस्ट अलग है, बॉटल खोला तो पीला प्रोडक्ट है, एक्चुअली वाइट होना चाहिए था, ये तो कुछ और ही आ गया है. So we are also tracking that. Cheap chipped tablets or liquid which is foully smelling, it's not good. And then specifically, this is also important when we have certain sort of medical device which has to be opened and injected or pinned in a way and it doesn't happen, like insulin pens, for example. There's a plunger, there's a pen, there's a place where you have to, stick, and then it should pop up in your and you try to inject, it's not happening. So we are also tracking product quality complaints here. Individual case reporting is the point we talked about, is the collation of data. So all these data, an individual report in pharma or PV language, it is called as ICSR, which is individual case safety reports, which is nothing but one report. It's just the scientific term for that report. Call center function we talked about is the medical information. It is very similar to the we have to with the call centers with phones. आपका mobile बंद हो जाता है, तो when we call, अरे my internet is not working, my this is not working. So that's a similar function with all pharma companies. They have a call center set up who only takes call for anything or everything related to products. Safety database, which we talked about, is the software or the database companies use. And again, the last thing is literature monitoring and media monitoring, which you already touched based on. So the next is, as we said, PV is not just one man army. It needs input, it needs collaboration, it needs help from all other departments. Only pharma industry or only health authority cannot do anything. So everything goes hand in hand. So there's government involved, where government puts in some policy which helps the regulatory authority to put in guidelines and which makes the law more stringent. There's industry which comes in, there's hospital, there's academic is when there are certain projects which happens with uni. For example, now the recent example is Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. So AstraZeneca is a company, Oxford is a uni, so it's a collaboration. So that happens there. Then there are some associations as well: medical information center, patient, consumer, media articles, social media, who, everything. So it's like a hand in hand basis. So सबको मिलके साथ चलना है, only then we will achieve what we need to achieve, or else it's really hard. So a lot of pharma companies actually put a lot of money and lot of efforts to make this profile or make this collaboration so hard, or um, so easy. I'm not so hard, sorry, to make this so what I say is upfront, that they try and make sort of media release, little meetings, sort of conferences, and um, lot of what we say is interviews on the TV channel. So they try to promote this model that we have to work hand in hand. And even inside the company, they rule out a process, or they roll out saying each individual is also very important. Not only if you're just working into PV company or a PV department, also if you're working into an IT department in a pharma company, but you might hear of something, but you should be, you tell the pharma department. So that's how it is important. So the basic criteria is that everything happens together. One person or a one industry cannot achieve this goal which we are trying to achieve. So next is, after we know what is the overview, how it works, what gets involved, what's the need, why are we doing this, do we really need this? Well, we do. Like, no pharma company can survive without the PV department, even though it is not a profit making department, but they still need it. So what happens is, it's really important, is because it's needed to get the safety profile of product through the entire life, or through the entire phase. It's in the market, it's in clinical trials, or even after launch in the market. We need to know the profile of the product even after it's released. So that's the need of it. And why in clinical trials, why is it so important in clinical trials, is because when we do clinical trials or when we do preclinical studies, firstly it's only in animals. In clinical trial, it's for the first time the product is going to get introduced into humans. So we want to know what is happening. Each human is different. Each human can react to that product differently, even at the same dose. So we need PV in clinical trials. And why in post marketing? Post marketing is also very important, because clinical trial, we are checking for a certain period of time, for a small amount of time. We are not checking in a large population. firstly. The second is we also not checking in patients which have allied health issues, like somebody might have blood pressure, diabetes at the same time, but we didn't check that in our clinical trials though. So we need that reports. Somebody who is taking many medications at the same time, so we want to know how my medicine is reacting when that person is taking already three medicines at the same time. So that's also important. The other thing is, if there is a chronic exposure or the patient is going through a chronic disease, we want to know what's happening. And the last and very important is genetic diversity in a large population. My genetics would be different being from West. South genetic would be really different, and somebody from abroad genetics would be really different. So each human is very different. Even if you are from the same country, you may react differently with the same product. So we want to know what is happening. So that is why we need PV. And so we know PV is important, but why do we need this in every country? We do, right? Because paracetamol is taken all along the country. It's taken in India, it's taken in US, it's taken in Canada. But there would be some study where each country has its own registration for the product. So each country has its own rules, each country has its own regulations, and each country has its own population. So we do need that information. So it's really important to study certain products, or if it's going to roll out in different country, then we need this data as well. So differences in disease, prescribing practice, that's very interesting. I want to share an example for that. Prescribing practice in India is very different to what happens in abroad. I can only give an example of Australia because I have worked here, I have stayed here, and now I know what sort of prescribing practices are here. So what happens is, here when you go to a GP or when you go to a doctor and you say, I have this, what he will say is, go home, take a paracetamol for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. If you still feel bad, then you come back. Even if you are sneezing badly, he will not or she will not prescribe antibiotics till the time you deadly need it. So that's what sort of prescribing practice I'm talking about. However, back in different countries or in India as well, we don't wait up till that stage that you feel as if now I'm going to die and my viral infection is getting so bad. There we prescribe antibiotics pretty ahead. Not We don't wait that long. My question is, like, what I'm trying to put here is, the prescribing time or the prescribing duration is pretty different for both the countries. So this practice is also different in all different countries. So that also affects PV. So we want to know what is happening, what sort of prescribing practice the doctors are having in different countries. So that's important. Genetics we already talked about. The genes are very different. Only if in India these are the differences. How about, or I can imagine what differences would be in Caucasian and Asians. It's a very different genes. Diet. It's a long topic because our food, Indian food, is very scientific, I know, but it's very time consuming. On the other hand, मुझे पूछो खाना बनाने में कितना टाइम जाता है, रोटी सब्जी दाल चावल all सब्जी ये बनाओ वो बनाओ. So it's a very different diet for Indian crowd. uh, at the other hand, it's a very different diet for example, an Australian man, or for a Canadian person, for an American person. Their whole diet is different. So this also affects the pharmacology or the PKPD of the product. What I'm talking is, the kinetics of the product may differ when you have a different diet structure or when you have a different diet style. Traditional lifestyle is all about the diet again. Then the other thing is drug manufacturing practices, which can also differ from country to country. It all depends on what sort of practices are there on the different country. The other one is, which I missed here, is disease as well. So for example, here in Australia, there's a trend when summer comes, everyone wants to get tanned. So they'll apply a bit of lotion in their bodies and they'll go and sit on the beach. They'll take a sun bath. But we are opposite. I don't want to get tanned. I'm already so tanned. I don't want to get tanned. So here, what I'm trying to explain is, there are a lot of cases of skin cancer here. So the disease profile is very different. At the same time, maybe in India or in Asian population, we have more disease occurrence of, maybe for example, diabetes, blood pressure. So that also affects the PKPD of the drug, what we are checking. So we want to know what is happening with the product into different countries. So that's where PV comes in. At the end, I would say, what's the goal? What are we trying to achieve, and what we want? We want that we monitor quality of drugs. We want to get the highest, the safest, the low risk, and the extreme benefit to the patient. We want the products in the market which is safest for patients, and where patient can consume the product and be stress free, that I will be treated by the product, I won't get any side effects. That's what the goal is. And we want to know what the risk is involved in administration of the product. So ultimately, PV is concerned in identifying the hazards associated with the products and minimizing the risk for the patient. And companies conduct a lot of efforts to inputting that in laws, regulations, and everything. These are some examples of products from all over the world. It's not specific to one country. I'm trying to say is, there are products which were withdrawn from the market because of the whole PV coming into picture. So these are some examples. What were the reasons of withdrawal, and what were the serious adverse events with those products? There are some examples for that. And then we come to some of the regulatory authorities in the world. USA, we all know, FDA, UK, MHRA, Australia, TGA. I'm sure now, even who doesn't know, now everyone knows because of the news that FDA has approved this vaccine. TGA has approved this vaccine. CDSCO in India has approved this vaccine. So it's all, everything coming up. And actually, I would also like to share that because of the whole vaccine scenario, the awareness of PV has increased a lot. In Australia, we have seen that consumer awareness has raised up to 50%. So we are getting more consumer reports rather than before. So which is really what we want. We want that message to go, that just not only come for vaccination, or just not only take my company product, but if you have something, let me know. If you have something, report it. Only if you report, then only people will know, or then only the pharma companies will know. Otherwise, there's nothing to be known of, because this is all generated from what we get, from the reports we get. So these are a few examples again. Some of the international organizations: WHO, PAHO, International Conference on Harmonization. These are just some few points that what regulators do. So regulators are the government appointing regulator agencies, and they are responsible for monitoring the safety and medicines and device. So they are the one who are like watching the companies and watching everyone that you should do it in a specific way. And they make sure that companies behave responsibly, ethically, and they are all in compliance with the national law. And they also check that if there is any risk benefit ratio changes, so benefit should be always at the upper end, risk should be always at the lower end. So if this ratio is not maintained, where the regulators will come in. So now we'll talk about a little bit of practical application of how the industries are, and how I started my career as well. So what happens is, all pharma companies, they have their contracts with a small little organization which we say as CRO, which is Clinical Research Organization, or Contract Research Organization. These are the few examples on the screen: Icon, Inventive, INC, Quintiles, Accenture, Cognizant, TCS, you name, and we have everything in India. So what happens is, pharma companies get contracts to the CROs um, to get these reports processed. Reason being, so many reasons. So number one is the labor cost. Second is the wages. Third is the quality of the reports. And fourth is the scale at reports get processed. So what happens is, they try and get collaborative approach with these companies or the CROs and get contracts with them. So what happens is, these contract research organizations basically process the reports into database, and they provide all these database reports to the company, and the company just takes care of the governance part. So where we come about is the analysis and the communication part. So collaboration and collation all is done by CRO. So this is just one setup. Not every company does it, but most of the companies portfolio is similar, because if they have huge number of products, they usually outsource it. And the biggest example is Pfizer. We all know Pfizer vaccine is all around the world. So I have few of my colleagues who just joined Bioclinica in India. So they are working on Pfizer vaccines, and they are based in India, but they are working for everything apart from India. So they are not working on the Indian reports. They're working on the reports which are all over the world. So this is, I would say, a plus point or a beauty of working in PV in India. You learn of all the regulations and everything, all the regulations, I would say, in India, where you process the reports from all around the world. So you know about MHA, you know about EMA, because you have been trained on that. You've been trained on FDA, you've been trained on EMA. So you process reports of n number of countries and you send them. So this is the setup basically. However, small scale companies or small pharma companies have their own PV department. So they do in-house case processing. So they do their own processing, they don't have this third party, and they just work on their own. So this is just a little bit of practical approach. And I also worked in TCS as given in my introduction. So there, that was where I was introduced to PV first, and I used to process all reports which were from US, Canada, everything apart from India. And I used to wonder why we are not getting Indian reports. But it was the way that Indian reports were there, but they were very less, because we had the contracts for overseas. So this is what is there, the setup in industry. A little brief on that. And the last slide for me today is what comes in your mind when we consider on an effective and something which works in the system. So everything which comes with letter C, I would say. If we say C, for example, compliance, it's the important part of PV system. So here are a few. Customers, of course, they are very important. They are taking the product. Consistent process, calendar days, compliance, collaboration, checks, country, communication, etc., etc. So you name and you have that. So everything with C goes into PV. So let's put a small game first, and then we'll have a question session. So everyone online, please take your phones. Just use a device which is apart from what you're using now. So if you're seeing the presentation on the laptop, please use your phones. If you're seeing on the phones, please use your laptop. And it's like a KBC, but there's no money involved here. The winner is not going to get anything, but the winner's name is going to flash on the screen. So everyone is going to know that who is winning. So please type Kahoot on your phones or the system you're using. Kahoot.it. So just enter Kahoot it in your mobile browser or on your web phones, and you can see a small screen popping, the similar screen, and I'll share the PIN number. You can see my screen, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so once you have your browser open, you can see the PIN number flashing on your screens. So you can just enter the pin number which will generate now.
Pin.
So that's 59308. So I would know when everyone joins. So I'll wait for a few minutes. So after this, I would know if everyone has listened to my session correctly or not, because those questions are from that. So I can see the principal joining first. We'll wait for a few minutes more because I know we have 300 plus, but I can only see 14. 14 so far, so we'll wait for a while. Let a lot of crowd join, and then it'll be more interesting to play. Are people still joining, or should we just start? I think they are still joining. Okay, a minute more. Fast, people, fast! Jaldi! Okay, all right, we'll give a go now. So what you'll see is in your screens, you can see the question, and I'll read out as well. And you'll see 4 options. So you need to select the correct option and give your entries. Okay, I see a few people coming, popping. Okay, sure. Let's give a go. Okay, all right. Here you go. Okay, let's see the first question. So, what is the major side effect of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine? You have 4 options: syncope, mood swings, blood clot, or none of the above. So, the left corner is giving you how many seconds you have left, and you need to just select one of the 4 options. You say have 30, 34 seconds more, 32 seconds more. Two, one. Okay. So Praveen is the one who was fastest and quickest answer for this one. Well done, Praveen. Give yourself a chocolate at home. So we go to the next question. So what are the commonly used software or database in pharmacovigilance? So that's the question. And your options are Argus, RSG, number 2, .NET, number 3, Turbo C, or is it C+++? So we have a lot of time. We have 60 seconds, around 60 seconds to answer. 20 seconds more, around 20 seconds, I would say. 24, 23. All right, done. Oh, it's Harsh Chain. Congratulations, Harsh Chain. You were the quickest and the correct answer. We'll go to the next one. That's the second last question. So, what are the methods of reporting? Is it email? Is it phone? Or is it letter? Or is it all the ones which are being listed? So, seems like everyone is doing good. Everyone was not very hungry to go for lunch. So, we have around 60-second, guys. It feels like running like a quiz or a KBC show. Okay, we have 40 seconds. 15 seconds more. All right, done. Let's see who is again. Oh, it's Manisha this time. Congratulations, Manisha. And you are quickest and the correct answer for this one. So people, don't get disheartened. We have one last question for you. Try your best to be very quick to see your name on the screen. So this is the last question, guys. What is the regulatory authority for Japan? Is it TGA? Is it FDA? Is it PMDA or is it EMEA? 60, 60 seconds. Almost there, 50 seconds. Last 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So let's see the last winner. Oh my goodness. Rohit. HD. And number 1 is Manisha. So congratulations, Banisha, HD, and Rohit. You are first, second, and third. Well done, guys. Well done.
Thank you, ma'am.
No problem. Congratulations. Well, like I am not face to face. If I would have, I would have given you a big chocolate from me or a big hug. But I'm sure you buy yourself one and celebrate. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So just the last bit now from the slides. You can see my screen. Yeah, so this is my LinkedIn profile, my QR code, and please feel free for any questions. If you're too shy, don't want to ask in front of the crowd, all good. You can message me, email me, or you can use the chat function in the StreamYard. Feel free if any questions for me. There are two things. Either I didn't explain well, that's why there are no questions, or I did so well that there are no questions. Feel free, guys. Don't be shy. Any small question is worth to ask. Don't feel don't feel that this is not a question. Every question is important.
Okay, session
We'll,
is open for queries. You can put your question in your chat box also.
yeah, you can use the chat
Yes.
function. I have my chat function open. I can read through. Okay, well, if there are no questions, that's all good. If there's something comes up in your mind, feel free to message me on LinkedIn on my message box. I will respond to you. And this is my last slide. Big thank you. And this is all what I have taken from a little bit of Australia is. Can I get others muted, please? It's a bit of background noise.
Sir,
Feel
question,
free.
sir, question, ma'am, question is there in chat box.
Sure, sure, sure. Yep. Oops. Can
Sorry,
you
sir.
read it from? I cannot see the questions.
Oh,
Yes,
sir,
sir.
read it.
If,
Read question.
Okay.
if you want to
Monesh,
go for.
Monesh Patil says, Mom,
Yes,
hello.
yes,
Sorry,
yes, yes.
sorry.
I can. No, no, all
Uh,
good. I can read the question.
okay.
So if we want to go for PV, then it need any special cause for it? Good question, Manish. Not a problem. I can answer that. So basically, no special cause as such. However, if you have a pharma degree, any life science degree is well enough to go into PV, because the job description actually needs a PV, or sorry, needs a life science degree. So if you are a pharma, if you are a M Pharm, B Pharm, or even dentist, for that, dentist can also come into PV. And a lot of medical reviewers are all doctors, so they are all physicians who actually used to practice before and they're now working into PV department. So no special course as such needed. However, some they do go ahead and just do for their own knowledge. So there are some small colleges who run 1 year course for clinical trial associate and a PV program. So they do go for it just to get that a bit of knowledge. However, it's not mandatory. You just need a life science degree to get into PV. I can see another question. Being pharmacy student, how can we enter into PV as a career? Um, as in, so pharmacy degree has a lot of options. When I was in pharmacy and when I was searching for job, I used to think, why did I choose pharmacy? Because I didn't knew at that point of time that pharma can go into these many different sections. So see, if you have a pharma degree, you can go into PV, you can go into reg, you can go into medical information, you can go into clinical trial related clinical trials or clinical trial associate as well. So these are all which are non lab related activities, right? So if you want to go into manufacturing, if you want to go into QA, that is all related to actual industry manufacturing related roles, right? So as a pharmacy student, I guess what you need to do is, if you see any role which is like an entry level for PV, go ahead and apply for it, because PV doesn't require any special course though. Because in our own curriculum, I can't recollect if I had such thing in B Farm, but M Farm I definitely had a subject for it, because I did my M Farm in pharmacology and I had a section which was for clinical trials and PV. So we already had that knowledge when I was doing my M Farm. So there was no need to get into any other sort of course. And but I do recollect even B Farm has a little tinge of it, or a little touch of PV. So if you want to enter into PV as a career, once you finish your pharmacy and you're ready to go for work, I would say in India, for the best way to start your PV career is to go for the CRO, uh, or contract research based organizations. The reason being, they employ a lot together. There's a lot of opportunity to get into, because they have huge projects and they have big clients. So they recruit more than 40, 50 people at a time. So it's easy to get into in that competitive world, right? Because there's so much of competition held, so it's easy to get there. So I would say, try and apply for all these, in what do you say, an entry roles in PV. If you see, I think these organizations or CROs are best to go with. For example, there are many, but there's TCS, there's Cognizant, there's Wipro, and they have time to time entry. They have openings coming up every 2 months, 3 months. And if you have somebody, try and contact alumni, try and contact your seniors, try and contact on LinkedIn if somebody is already working in there, and tell them that if you have any new vacancies, or if you have upcoming vacancies coming up, can you please let me know? This is a way to go for it. I think most important is to get your social network strong and get more socialized. That's how you will know if there is some opening somewhere, and I'm sure you will go into a great career into PV. I hope I answered your question. I can see a few more questions. B Farm also has an elective subject, that's pharmaco. That's great. That's great, Neha. You can, yeah, you can go ahead and take that elective subject if you want to go ahead and pursue a career in PV. For me, PV worked best because I never wanted to go into what do you say, the lab related roles. I always wanted to be into industry, however, not into a lab role. So this gives me a balance. And basically now, as we all know, we are going through this COVID situation. This role can work from home as well. Some role cannot work from home. So this worked well for me, and this was not a plan for me. this was a last option when I was looking for job. I didn't get any such roles which I was looking for, and I tried a lot to get into clinical because that was my passion. I didn't get through, and I was very restless, and I thought that there's no point in waiting for now. I have to start somewhere, and that's how I entered into TCS. And now I feel it was a great decision at that point of time, which entered into that position, and then I have that knowledge now. And PV is great way to develop, and definitely it's going to get more and more evolved nowadays. And it's getting very limelight. Every pharma industry has a requirement to get this, so it is never going to stop. It is only going to grow and grow and grow. So it's a great place to be in if you're thinking of where to go, not sure what to do after my degree. I cannot see any more questions. I'm just going to screen through or look through my chats box to know if there are any more questions for me, or if I have missed something. Session was awesome. Being pharmacy student. Okay. Am I missing any questions, sir? I can only see those two questions, I guess. PV duration. Abid. What do you mean by? Sorry, I didn't get the question though. Like duration, as in average student. PV duration. As
Yes,
in, are you
Neha.
one more? Yeah, sure. Go
One
for
more
it.
question from Neha. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
go
Yes,
for it.
Neha. Ask the question, Neha.
I think she is typing.
Yes, yes.
Uh, I saw the question from Hussein, PV duration, but I didn't quite get the question though. Can you bit explain a bit more what you want to know? Then it'll be easy for me to explain what the question is. Average student or topper in B farm? Well, all of us are not toppers, so all good. Not everyone can be first in the class. Just do best what you do, I would say. And it's just important to excel in your own best way what you're doing and know yourself, I would say. No, we don't need to be masters in everything, or we don't need to be topper. But it's not that field that only topper can go in, so don't worry. If we have to select CDM or PV, okay. Is it clinical data management, Manisha? See if I'm understanding. So I'll explain a bit on clinical data management. So that is more of what they do is just managing the data from clinical trials. It's very different from PV. They don't do anything to do with adverse events. They just manage the data which comes in from clinical trials. So that can be blood results, and that can be a lot of data generated from clinical trials only. But however, pharmacy can also, like a pharma student can also go into CDM. It's a good field as well. If you like a lot of data, managing the data, controlling or monitoring the trials, it's a good field to go in. I want to know what is the JD requirement, like knowledge of Medra or other things like coding. Is it necessary to have it at entry level? Okay, Neha, it's a good question. Medra linking is very important in PV. So, just to give a bit of idea to everyone in the call, Medra is a dictionary which has a list of adverse events, and that list is being used to code the events into safety database, which is Argus. So basically, Neha, you don't need anything or a special knowledge for that, because usually whenever you join an entry level, you get trained to work on the software or to work on the database by the company. So they will train you. So there's no need to have that knowledge, like a special knowledge of that. However, if you are going for an interview, or if you're planning to go ahead and work on to PV, it's better. It's just good that you have a little bit of knowledge what gets involved, but you don't have to get a, a gist of it. Like, you don't have to, I mean to say is, you don't have to get a special course to do for it. That's fine. At entry level, you're going to get trained from the company on how to work for the the thing. The reason being is every company or every client that they have their own requirements. So they have their own trainings to train whoever is joined new, because there is a specific way of doing everything. So they will train you. So you don't have to get everything for that. You just need your own knowledge of PV, confidence, crack the interview and go for it. Is there any scholarship exam for getting admission in MFAM in Australia? Okay, that I was expecting that questions. But, the reason being, I know a lot of students want to pursue higher educations. So yeah, there is, but it's not a sort of scholarship exam. Vital. So what happens is when you enroll or when you want to study abroad, so how it works in Australia is you give IELTS, which is the English proficiency test. I am not a nitty gritty or I'm immigration person to answer this very specifically, but I would just answer the way I know, because I have few friends and my brother who came in Australia for future studies. So what happens and what get involved, I know a bit. So I would explain a bit of that. So you need to give IELTS, and after giving IELTS, depending on your score, you have to select colleges, you have to select your course, what you need, and then depending on your rank or depending on your study profile, what points or what grades you have in your own degree, that is your MPharm or your BPharm. If you're planning for your BPharm, sorry, if you're planning for your MPharm here, so you will have your BPharm degree or your BPharm scores with you. So with that you can have a bit of what you say is first term scholarship, or a bit of what they say is they decrease your fee by a little bit because you have good grades in your BPharm. So yeah, that can be done. That's for Australia. For US, for Canada, there's GRE. That's again a sort of English proficiency, and lot of what do you say, lot of what do you say, I forgot the term. So there's a lot of max, there's a lot of English text involved. So GRE is like a total competitive exam. So for those country you give that, and then the same process, have your scores, and then based on your university, based on that you get your scholarships and you get recognized, and then you get ahead. Hopefully if you want to pursue, maybe meet someone or chat someone who is already a student from your college, who has already been pursuing higher education somewhere, get a bit of knowledge from them, and I'm sure that they'll help you out. I can see a few more questions. Any diploma holder can do this? Yeah, sure. There are few courses known as diploma in clinical trials or diploma in PV. These are short courses run by a few colleges, and they are only specifically run for the specific knowledge of PV. Yeah, you can get into that as well. The next question I see is why in pregnant women after delivery of Caesar, some patients was to suffer from conversion, but their CT brain was normal. Is that a product? The CSOR MRI brain also normal, BP normal. Then why that type of conversation is there? As in, like after taking the product, Yogesh. I didn't understand the question a bit. You can maybe in the chat you can explain a bit more. PV is 1 year or 2 years. Okay, all right. So, are you talking about a PV specific course? So, PV specific course can be a year. I guess I'm not pretty sure how it works in different colleges, but there is a 1 year course because one of my friends she did 1 year course after doing her biotechnology graduation. Um, so she did a 1 year course and she is into PV now. So that's a 1 year course, but maybe you have to browse a bit what different colleges offer. Are they offering any 6 month diploma, or are they offering any specific 1 year or 2 year course? We're not running out of time, right, sir? I guess a few questions are budding up, so we'll give a minute or more so for few questions. Keep Feel free for keep coming questions on your chat function, and I'll just go through my thank you slide till then because I cannot see any other question for now. Okay, so this slide basically explains everything about Australia. Can I get a bit mute? Everyone, please mute. It's a bit of background noise. So Australia has famous famous. They like to do short forms of everything, right? So they will say. So this is a very famous word for friend. Here it's mate. So hi mate, how are you doing, mate? Good morning, mate. Good night, mate. Everything is mate. Afternoon is avo. Breakfast is preki. Barbecue is barbie. McDonald's is McD. So everything is short. People here they like short. God forbid my name is Jinal, so it's not very long. If my name would be long, even my name would be shorter. So they love short forms of everything. The other thing is Vegemite. It's a very I don't like at all being here. It's a very bad, smelly spread, which is like a B complex vitamin smell paste. But here they love it. It's like a spread like Nutella or a butter. They combine it with butter and they have it with bread. They love it. I hate it. The other thing is didgeridoo. It's like a small. So here in Australia, it's a migrated country as we all know, and the basic people here are Aboriginal people, जिसको हम आदिवासी बोल सकते हैं, जो यहाँ के actual owners है. They are the owners of this land. So this design is their design, but in the middle, and this is their play toy which they use. The extreme left is very famous kangaroos and opera house in Australia. So here, if you go for a road trip, there are weird road signs. You can get spiders, you can get kangaroos, you can get reptiles, you can get snakes on your way. So they give this funny signs on the road that anything or everything can come in between your car. So we have to be very cautious when we drive. The other thing is beach. We all know Australia is famous for beach, but I still love Goa beach. Okay, it cannot compare my love for Goa. Though I have just been once, but yeah. So extreme right is kangaroo, and in the middle, this very cutie teddy bear sort of thing is koala. That's very famous animal from Australia. It's only found in Australia, kangaroo and koala. So the very speciality of koala is that it sleeps for 16 hours a day. Like imagine if we could do that, doing nothing, just sleeping for 16 hours. So whenever in the zoo you go to see koala, it's only lying on the tree and sleeping. It's the laziest animal I would say. And Australia, they love their beer. They love beer. Beer is everywhere. On Friday, beer. Saturday, beer. Sunday, beer. Monday is beer. Weekdays is diet, diet, diet. And again, you come on Friday, it's beer. So when Corona hit it, so this is the beer in Australia. It's there everywhere, but it just got a bit limelight, right? Corona may Corona beer. So the sales got high because of the name, which is very obvious. So this is a short Australia in a slide. So at last, I would say thank you so much, everyone, for your time attending the session. Organizers, Principal Sir, J.E.S Sir, the ma'am, the college, and all the best for the college students. Do well, all the best. And the last I would say is it's hard time. It's COVID time. Please be with your family, support each other, talk to each other, be social. एक दूसरे से बात कीजिए, फैमिली के साथ टाइम स्पेंड कीजिए. इट्स अ गुड टाइम. इट्स अ गुड टाइम इफ वी से दैट ऐसा टाइम फिर नहीं आएगा. Help your mother, help your father, talk with them, spend time with your family, and be safe. I know how hard it is because I'm really far from my family. My mom and dad, my family is back in India, and because of the border closures we cannot go back, but we always make point that we talk with them. हम phone करते हैं, हम बात करते हैं. The hard times, though we cannot meet each other, but virtually हम मिल सकते हैं. So take care of each other, talk to each other, make friends, talk to your friends, be with your family, support each other. And if there are any questions, please feel free to contact me on LinkedIn, and I'm there to answer your queries as well. Thank you so much. At the end, I cannot see any more questions, so I guess we can wrap up.
Yes, yes. Yes. First of all, thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable speech. Really, it is very helpful for our students in future. Thank you so much. Once again,
No
thank you so
worries.
much, ma'am. Uh, I would like to invite Manisha Gavit ma'am for vote of thanks. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. Good noon, all of you. On behalf of J.E.S College of Pharmacy, Nandurbar, I, Professor Manisha Gavit, would like to thank our keynote speaker, Mrs. Jinal Waghela ma'am, for such a wonderful informative session on overview of pharmacovigilance. We enjoy a lot your session, ma'am. I would like to thank management team of J.E.S College of Pharmacy for support and encouraging us. I would like to thank our principal Ansari sir to motivate us and even guide us to organize such a webinar. I would like to thank teaching and non-teaching staff of J.E.S College of Pharmacy, Nandurbar. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the participants for participate in such an international webinar. We hope you can join us again in future. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much, Manisha. It was a pleasure,
Thank you.
and it's lovely to talk to all the students because I was there at some point, and it's really making me feel so happy that my knowledge is helping some of the budding students, and I would see some, hopefully some people I would see face to face. नक्की भेटूया कधीतरी आणि सोबत काम करूया. So all the best everyone, and have a good rest of your day. Enjoy your time and enjoy your Sunday. See you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, sir, can leave the studio, sir?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll leave it. Yeah.
Hello.